You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
Between you and I, Mary, I've not actually written that much of it. A man called Jeremy, he's done most of the tapping on keys as far as my life is concerned. The truth being that I was never really that interested. Most of it I truly struggle to remember, and if it wasn't for the likes of you people, large portions of my life would be a blur. However, the final pages are destined for the few bits which I can remember. The odd bit of scandal that I witnessed, the occasional moment when the real picture was revealed. We'll work our way around to that later. For the moment, let us say there are one or two members of the establishment holding their collective breaths as to what may actually be in those final passages. I will, of course, eventually have to put them out of their collective misery, but I'll enjoy dragging it out for as long as possible. My revenge for all those snide comments in the media, articles attacking me personally, stalking my family, and on I could go. But I won't. Let's just say a few of them will finally receive the edge of my tongue, and it will be quite sharp indeed. But that is for the book, if the publisher will print it, that is. Am I being clear enough for you?
Sort of.
You see, Mary, this country has been run for so long by a private and highly profitable company for a select few. This is nothing new, as I'm sure you're aware. Most countries are run for the benefit of those at the top, not for those at the bottom. I'm being a bit vague, aren't I?
I think it might help if you start at the beginning.
Always a good place to begin. 6 months before I left office, 6 months before I left office, a document found its way into my possession, suggesting very seriously that at least 3 members of the cabinet were involved, if not fully paid up members of, foreign intelligence services. The document in question traced those cabinet members from their beginnings as party workers, councillors, even their individual journeys as members of parliament, right through to cabinet level. According to what was presented before me, foreign powers had shaped their progress and had in fact bought and paid for in full cabinet members that now held power in this country.
Did the document say anything else?
The file of papers alleged that these ministers had produced policies purely for the sake of governments, not of these shores.
Could you give me any examples?
The Minister for Europe was, according to the file, a card-carrying member of the DGSE, France's intelligence service, and was forwarding a policy to the United States of Europe, as if the idea was a new one, when the economics of the common market had been going in that direction for years already. Another allegation was that the Home Secretary was going to propose an idea of no longer prosecuting thieves and burglars due to overcrowding in our prisons. The theory as put forward in the document was that the FSB, Russia's new state security service, was trying to bring anarchy to the streets of our towns and cities. Some might say we have achieved that one ourselves and required no assistance from any foreign intelligence service. And lastly, that the Foreign Secretary himself was a compromised CIA asset who was emailing all of our internal memos straight to Langley, West Virginia. All of it was, of course, total rubbish from beginning to end.
Where did this document come from?
Our good friends from across the river.
I'm sorry?
Vauxhall.
The Secret Intelligence Service.
I'd been warned about both MI5 and 6 before moving into number 10. Their infiltration of left-wing institutions, as I'm sure you know, is now well documented. The unions during the 70s, the miners in the 80s, the IRA since the beginning, the peace movements, the anti-globalization groups, the Save the Planet protesters, and on and on. You could argue that these were legitimate targets for the spooks to slip inside and take a look around. After all, that's what we pay them for. But this collection of suggestions and rumours, spruced up as fact, was something new. I had known these people for years. They were my colleagues, my friends, and yet here before me were supposed statements, photographs, transcripts, all the usual bag of dirty tricks that goes with a secret world of rumour, paranoia, and espionage.
Could they have had any genuine reason for these concerns?
No. I know that the left is a broad canvas with many different shades across its spectrum, but none of my parliamentary colleagues had worked half of their political lives to then go and sell out to someone else. The whole idea of it was crazy. It was page after page of innuendo and suspicion, no real facts, nothing that could actually be pinpointed to and someone say, there is your proof. Not only was it inaccurate, it was shabby, poorly executed.
So what did you do?
For about a week I sat on it, digested its contents, and then brought in the head of SIS.
You accused him openly?
Actually, it was a woman.
Oh?
I've just had a thought. You be her for a moment.
What?
You pretend to be her, the head of MI6.
Oh, I don't ever...
Oh, don't worry. They'll not put you in the Tower of London for it. So, you've come in and go.
Are you sure?
I always loved the theatre, pretending to be something else, someone else. Just give it a go, for me. Might surprise yourself.
Right. You wanted to see me, Prime Minister?
Yes, I did. I have your file.
File?
The slanderous papers before you. Here, take a look yourself. Although I doubt there's anything in it you don't already know.
It says here that...
Yes, I'm very aware of what it says and what it suggests. I'm also very aware of the things that it doesn't say.
Doesn't say?
Nothing is ever purely one side or the other. Just because an idea is dropped into the public domain, it is not the same as saying that the idea is correct. It might be there simply to cloud the issue, throw Fleet Street off the wrong path and onto the right one, or, more lately, the other way round. Changing the focus of the question is, of course, what politics is mostly about, turning the agenda to one in which you as the individual, or organisation, or institution, comes out of it smelling sweetly. Or perhaps just muddying the waters, so that it's hard even to remember what the original point was. I said all this at the meeting. Well, pretty much this type of thing. You're being very good, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes, you've really caught her, as they say in the theatre.
Do they?
Oh, yes. The need to encapsulate yourself into the attitude of another human being, to get inside their skin, to know that person intimately. Spies do it all the time.
Do they?
Anyway, where were we?
Muddying the waters.
Ah, yes. I remember the day well.
That, Prime Minister, is your view.
My view?
We see the situation very differently.
You expect me to take this seriously?
There is corruption at the heart of the government. Your government, Prime Minister. This must be stopped.
And how exactly am I meant to do that?
We can assist you.
With the removal of 3 cabinet ministers?
Yes.
Oh, how very noble of you.
Some of your cabinet colleagues have spoken on a variety of subjects, several of which have been taken up and reproduced in the national dailies. Numerous passages have even been broadcast on the television.
You came in from the foreign branch, as I recall. At least that's what it says in your file. Of course, I wouldn't know if the file was accurate or not. No way for me to judge, I suppose. I mean, it's the classic problem of all PMs, isn't it? Who watches the watchers? Who tells the guy in Downing Street what is real and what is written down and presented to him?
My world must seem a mystery to you. Unacknowledged, unspoken of, caught between the fictionalized world of art and the harsh real world that people like me find ourselves in. To you, Prime Minister, we may come across as the enemy, but I assure you, we are the only true friends that you have. We serve a nation that, if we play our role well, will never see us, let alone understand what we do. We are the bit-part actors that make up the whole scene. We're the ones that make it all turn out right in the end. I know you understand, Prime Minister. I know you see how the big picture truly fits together.
As I was saying, your file shows quite an extensive list of countries that you've worked in. Colombia, Afghanistan, Iraq, back in the days of Saddam even, to say nothing of Pakistan and even far-flung areas like Tajikistan and Moscow. Got around a bit, didn't you?
Some of my postings have been more glamorous than others.
Last destination was Washington, with vague references to New York. Sightseeing, perhaps?
Ordered to Wall Street, if you must know.
And how is the CIA these days?
I feel we are drifting off the subject matter.
Strange. I was beginning to feel that we were honing in on it.
The issue was 3 cabinet ministers.
No, it isn't. It never was. We both know that. Are you trying to intimidate me?
We are on your side, you know. It is not our intention to subvert a sitting government. We see our role much more of that of loving grandparents that have seen it all.
We take our power from the people.
You take your power from the City of London, Prime Minister, just like your predecessors, which is what made those ministers' comments such a betrayal.
That is your interpretation.
It is known that the texts of all their speeches were sent to Number 10 for verification before they were delivered at your conference. You knew what they were going to say, and you authorised it. In many ways it was a brave move. Some might even have called it courageous. I thought it was, personally, unfortunate. I can see what you were doing. Trying to do is probably a better way of expressing it. But also, it was a dangerous move, especially for the ministers themselves. Did you really believe that there wouldn't be a retaliatory strike? I think you did, and that is why you put others up into the firing line while you kept hidden out of the way. A pity the 3 of them were not as well informed of your past as I am, or they may have been able to keep their jobs. The first 2 resigned straight away, as one would expect. Very good of them, I thought. Only the Foreign Secretary tried to hold on. I suppose she thought she was doing the right thing. Quite noble of her in some respects. I think she believed in it, what you were trying to do. But when her time came, you were more than happy to accept the resignations and look the other way. By the end, you were just happy to keep your feet under the table.
Let's stop there for a moment.
Is there a problem?
We've gone beyond the first meeting.
Oh, sorry.
Not at all. In fact, by the end, which was behind closed doors, most of all that was already out in the public domain. The leakage of information to the press is still one of the few things we're good at in this country. You play your part very well, by the way, very convincing. Mary Wilson, unlike what your files on me may or may not say, I did once meet her.
Right.
You do look very similar to her. In fact, the likeness is uncanny. But there's something just not quite right.
May one ask what it is?
A couple of mistakes, deliberate errors on my part. Sorry.
What mistakes?
Birthdays, university dates, shoe size.
Did you?
I had to know.
Know what?
The real Mary Wilson would have corrected me. You let me go on and on. Typical behaviour from the spook department.
Oh?
When a powerful man waffles on, listen very carefully to what he says.
What if he is an ex-powerful man?
Then listen even more carefully. So, what is the thinking down in Vauxhall these days? Am I still seen as security risk number 1? I think if the rumours were true that I was referred to as the demon of Downing Street, do they still call me that? Am I still seen as the enemy?
Sorry to inform you, Mr. Linstead, but you are rarely referred to at all these days. Everyone's moved on, you see. People do. People find other things to worry about. You, Mr. Linstead, are seen, by some, as less yesterday's threat and more yesterday's problem.
But not by all?
No, not by all.
Someone still thinks I could be trouble? Is that it? Someone is worried that I might stir up trouble, take revenge from the political back pages?
Is that your intention?
I started a debate that needed to be out in the open, a debate that the people needed to know about. What I did was for the good of the country.
You hid behind your parliamentary colleagues.
That's not true.
Geoffrey Harris, Minister for Europe, unfaithful to his wife, one child outside the family home, another one on the way. Peter Tomlinson, Home Secretary, caught shoplifting, covered up. And Sophia Carroll, Foreign Secretary, whose husband lost a considerable amount of money on an insider trading scam that went horribly wrong. Gave you the leverage that you needed, and you applied it. Only you miscalculated the way in which the state would reply. And retaliate it did.